So now we're gonna do some work for our hands, and this can be super helpful for shoulders and neck. Again, if you're doing a lot of screen work, a lot of repetitive postural work, movements, or sedentary work, super helpful if you've get repetitive strain injury, carpal tunnel, all that kind of thing. This can be really helpful. You might want to take your watch off if you're wearing one. Bracelets might get in the way, depends on if they're big or tight, chunky. And any rings, you might want to take your rings off if you can. If they're too tight, don't worry. Like for most stuff, it will be fine. I'm going to show you a lot of this on the floor. However, you could also put the ball. We're going to work with a small ball. Where's my ball? You could put the small ball about a tennis ball shape, could be slightly smaller. You could try different ones if you have options. You could put it on the surface of a chair or a table, on the floor, or if you're like next to a sofa or your bed, you could pop a book or a block on there. So you've got something of a hard-ish surface. And if you're doing it on the floor or a fairly low surface, you've got the choice to put a bit more weight down through your hands. But of course that might not be so comfortable for your knees. So choose what works for you. And if you've got aches and pains in your hands, I recommend starting really gently. So then, standing by a table might work, or rolling against the wall. So you've got even a lighter touch. See how you go. We'll start with our dominant hand, whichever hand that is for you. And your other arm supporting you, especially if you're in a cat position like I am. You can do forearm as well. And first, just rolling around and experimenting with how much weight you're comfortable putting through that ball. And exploring different parts of your hands. Also, I have a tendency, I think most people have, to lift their fingers and thumbs. So letting them relax and trail the floor. So your thumb, especially your thumb joint, is relaxed. And then you might like to come to upright for a moment, to shake out your wrists. Notice any difference in sensations between your hands, the hand that you've had on the ball and the one that you haven't. And then doing the other side. Relaxing the thumb and the fingers. Rolling around. Your other hand is weight bearing, possibly if you're in cat. So that's doing some work as well. And if that doesn't suit you, do use the chair option or a book on the sofa or the bed. Releasing that hand, coming up to kneeling or upright kneeling, shaking your hands out a moment and noticing how it feels from your hands to your shoulders. The next one is a little bit stronger, so see how you go and maybe choose to come up on a higher surface so you've got a bit more control. Starting with your dominant hand on the ball, cupping the other hand over it, and then putting some weight down through it and leaving it in about the center of the palm of your hand. So this can feel quite strong and your fingers and thumbs relax. So if it hurts, then put less weight through. Put your hands on something higher so you've got easier control about how much weight you're putting through. Of course, the hardness of your ball would also make a difference. And then again, coming up and release. So we don't need to do this for very long. On the contrary, it's short and sweet. Maybe you can go to a point where it feels a bit sore, but in a good way, if you know what I mean. So it feels like it's doing something, but you definitely don't want to go into pain where you're kind of grimacing or anything. Have a go on the other side. And then coming up again, releasing the hands. Excellent. And we'll come onto our forearms and elbows. So the elbow cat. Your knees below your hips. And then turning the hands up and down a few times. Rotating the forearm muscles. And then very gently, I'll just turn actually so you can see my hands better. Really very gently here. You could also do this on a blanket or a cushion. And placing the outer edges of your hands on the floor and gently tap the floor. You could do one hand at a time or both at the same time. So it's like a really gentle karate chop. And then coming to kneeling or upright kneeling again with a little bit of a shake out. So this is stimulating strength along the outer edge of your hand, wrist and arm, and then having a mirroring effect on the outer edges of your feet and legs. So when we're working on the hands, we're also benefiting the feet through the nervous system. Then one more for the forearms, which I find a bit easier to do on a higher surface. So I'll demonstrate here. Is to roll the forearm on the ball. So if you're wearing a thick jumper, it might be nice to roll it up. If it's just a thin one, or a t-shirt, a long sleeve t-shirt, that's fine to do it through the t-shirt. And then just rolling your forearm over the ball. You can, if you've got enough surface to roll on, you could take in your hand again. You can go from, at least from the wrist to the elbow, which works on a yoga block or a reasonably large book. And again, you could do this on a table. Rolling over, and again, see how much weight is comfortable to put through this. Doesn't have to be much. And then doing the other arm. Rolling. If it feels pleasant, notice where it might feel pleasant. I've just found a little muscle where it feels really good to stay there for a moment and release it. And I'm really doing it super gently, not much pressure at all. And then having a little shake out again, noticing how your shoulders feel. So I found this extremely helpful with doing I do quite a lot of computer work, my website and marketing and planning and all sorts, and I was using crutches a lot recently, so I had a lot of pain in my hands and forearms and discomfort, and by evening I might be taking painkillers, and this has been really helpful. So especially if you get those kinds of stiffnesses, stiff neck, anything between your hands and your neck, your upper back, remembering that anatomically speaking, our fingers really start in the center of the body, in the center of the chest and the center of the upper back. So any sort of pains in this area, even headaches, could be alleviated by this practice. And using an object like a ball, rather than our own hands to massage, apparently works better. Our nervous system pays more attention if it's another person or an object that it feels. So that's kind of interesting to know. Again, you can make this part of your day, maybe leave the ball on your desk where you will see it, and try it out and see if it helps you in some way.